G'day guys, it's Imo here from Al and Imo Handmade, and I'm so excited to be back in the workshop with my first DIY project since Goldie's been born. I've partnered with Feast Watson for their Relove campaign, and I'll be bringing this beautiful piece of furniture back to life using their Scandinavian oil. So let's get started. Haven't even started and I've already got myself a splinter. I hope you're ready for this. I don't even think I'm ready for this. It's just like covered in stains, and I'm pretty sure that's mold, and it's just like needs a little bit of loving and a bit of TLC, so I'm so excited to bring this baby back to life. So I'm just removing all of the hardware from this. I've actually removed the door and I've clamped it to the side just so I can get into those other sides of the hinges. I'm using my screwdriver. For those bits that are a little bit sticky, spray it with just a little bit of lubricant, and that should help with that kind of really old rust. And you can see that I've got my little helper in the background all rugged up, removing those really sticky old screws. Gosh, I wonder how old this is and how long ago these screws were put in. And you just want to make sure that you save all of your hardware and put it somewhere safe. And I'll probably be giving these a really good clean because they're super rusty and yuck. There we go. Alright, so those hinges have now been removed, and that one's ready to sand. Okay guys, so my next step, now that I've removed all of my hardware, the next step is I'm going to start sanding, and I'm really hoping that this comes back easily. I'm a little bit nervous. I think it's a beautiful Vic Ash under there, which is the timber that we use for all of the furniture in our house. So if I can get this back to its original condition, it'll be so beautiful in our home. It'll match all the furniture that we've already got. So I'm going to put all of my hardware in a safe spot, and yeah, I'm going to get started with the sander. And if it's too sticky and it's too hard to get off with the sander, I'll probably jump on with a belt sander, but we'll see how we go. So I'm using a 120 grit sandpaper disc. Okay guys, so as you can see, there's still some marks here. They look like big stains that have been penetrated into the timber, so I'm just going to really work to try to get those out. And if I go in really nice and close, you can see this dark little spots in the grain. That's the old stain that's really seeped in, so I'm going to try to work those out as well by putting my sander on its edge and just kind of working to try to remove as much of that initial seal as possible and bring it back to its natural colour. Okay guys, you can see that I've done most of the sanding now, but I still have to get into all of these edges, which is just a little bit hard to do with the orbital sander. So what I'm going to do is use one of these. I've got some 80 grit sandpaper, and this is so I can get into those corners and hopefully clean those up a little bit. So now my piece is all sanded. It's come up this beautiful light timber color, which I absolutely love. And the next thing I want to do is to bring it up to date and make it match the furniture in our house. I'm actually going to cover the front doors in some ripped timber, so I'm just going to use some scraps that we've got lying around the workshop. I'm going to cut these down to size and I'm going to cover the front doors. But before I do that, I need to make sure that my doors are the right thickness, so I'm just going to plane them down a little bit and then I'm going to attach the timber rips to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure my timber rips, and this is the thickness that I'm going to take off my door fronts. So to thickness my door, I'm using a thicknesser. Now I know most people probably don't have one of these machines at home, and if you don't and you want to replace your doors, I suggest using maybe an MDF or a ply or a thinner timber to do your timber paneling on top of. But I want to recycle as much of this timber as I possibly can, so I'm going to use the original door fronts and I'm going to take off 6 mil, which is the thickness of the rips that I'm using on the door fronts. So now that I have my door fronts and their thickness down to the right size, I'm going to get my timber paneling, which is just off-cut timber, and I'm going to cut these all to the right length to make sure that they cover my door nice and flush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my door fronts so that I can create a mark, and I know exactly where I need to be cutting each of my timber lengths. So I can see it's that little mark there. I'm going to use this. So this is where I need to be cutting every single time. Okay, so now that I've got all of my pieces, I'm just going to give these all a really quick sand, and then we can attach them to our door fronts. Okay guys, now I've cut all of my lengths of timber and I've just really roughly laid them out on top of my door fronts. The next thing I'm going to do is just measure and mark a couple of lines so I know where I want to put my nails. I'm going to glue them all down and then I'm just going to use the nail gun to put them into place. Okay guys, we're on to my favorite part of every project, which is the end where you get to seal it and you get to really make that timber pop and shine. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using the Feast Watson Scandinavian oil, which is just going to bring out the natural color of the timber because I really love that kind of beautiful soft Vic Ash look. The great thing about Feast Watson though is that they really do have every color for any project that you want, from a really dark black Japan all the way through to like a really gorgeous whitewash, and they've got every color in between. So no matter what your project is, you'll definitely find a color within the Feast Watson range. You can buy this exclusively from Bunnings, and just a really, really great product to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is wipe down my piece to make sure that all the dust is removed, and then I'm going to use a cloth and wipe on my Scandinavian oils. So you want to make sure that you shake the can before you use it. And then I'm just going to really lightly, I only want to use a small amount, I don't want to soak it too much. Alright guys, so I have finished my seal and I'm going to let it dry now, but I just couldn't help myself but just check what it's going to look like with the doors on the front. I think it's going to look pretty cool. So once it's dry, I'm going to add those hinges back on and then I'm popping it inside to style it up.